Hello everyone, Lurgs here, and today it's the Outsunny Wooden Sun Lounger and how to build it by yourself. And this is what it will look like once you've completed it. And we also bought some cushions, and I'll put a link at the end of the video on where you can purchase these. And this is a fairly simple DIY job, and I'll show you what tools you'll need, and at the end we'll have a lovely cup of tea. Before we get started, I'll just show you the dimensions. This model is 180 centimeters long and 58 centimeters wide. And here is the package, and of course it's made in China, not great. And this is everything that you get in the package. We've actually bought 3 of these for our patio. Everything is labelled up with letters, and that is all the instructions there. And what you'll need today is a Phillips or crosshead screwdriver, either a manual one or electric, either an adjustable spanner or a 14mm spanner. And these are the nuts, bolts, screws and washers that you get with the package. And just make sure you follow this video exactly as I do, because you don't want to put the legs on back to front or anything like that. You've got 2 C legs, all a bit wobbly. But one of those goes at the front of the wooden Sun Lounger and one goes at the back, because one of them has got holes on the end to put the wheels on. So to start with, lay the Sun Lounger upside down, where you've got those 2 grooves. That is where the backrest goes, and take the legs that have got the holes in, which is where the wheels go, and that is where the holes are there. And the other legs obviously go at the other end. Make sure you've got them curved in the right direction. You don't want that the other way round. Then to start with, take 4 bolts, and these are the end bolts, 4 washers and 4 nuts. Now I am filming this and building it at the same time, so I'm pretty much using one hand. It'll be much easier to do it by yourself using 2 hands, but this is just to show that you can do it by yourself. Put one of the bolts in from the outside and then push that through, line it up with the hole on the legs. And as I'm filming with one hand and holding the leg with the other hand, I'm pushing the bolt through with my foot. Just line it up with the hole. So that is one in. Fabulous. Now let's just get the other one in. Push it all the way through. So we've got 2 bolts there through. Then place a washer on each one. Then take a nut and just tighten that on there clockwise. Now always do it with your fingers first. You never want to go straight in with a spanner, just in case you start cross threading it. So always do it with your fingers first. That's the same with anything that you're going to build. Great stuff. And there for the other side. So I'm just going to put those in as well. And again, a washer and a nut on each of those bolts on the inside. Just speed this footage up. Once they're on, then we can just go about tightening them with the spanner and the screwdriver. Now, as I've mentioned at the beginning, I'm on my own here, so with 2 hands this would be very easy. You just hold the spanner on one side and then tighten it up with the screwdriver on the other side. But as I'm on my own, I'm just going to wedge that screwdriver down on the floor, tighten it up with a screwdriver clockwise, and it will just start tightening itself. So I'll get that reasonably tight. Then I can just hand tighten it with the spanner shortly afterwards. So tightening up that screw clockwise, pretty much as tight as you can get it. Once that's nice and tight, I can just go straight in with the spanner. Just tighten those nuts up nice and tight clockwise. Obviously if they weren't already tight and you tried to go straight in with the spanner and tighten it up, the bolt would just go round and round. And I'll just do this exactly the same on the other side, make sure they're nice and tight. Now I'll just speed this footage up, but you're basically tightening that up exactly the same, nice and tight. So that end leg is now nice and tight, nice and rigid. What we'll do next is we'll put the wheels on, but I think I'm going to stop for a quick cup of tea, mid-build. Why not? If you're going to be working on any of my how-to videos, always have a lovely cup of tea. Right, the wheels are using these two different bolts here. These are the M bolts. And the wheels are labelled up as F. Now the design of these particular wheels aren't amazing. They should really have locking nuts on or proper wheel bearings, but obviously it's cheap and cheerful. So you're putting the bolts in from the outside to the inside, and then a washer and a nut. But obviously these wheels need to turn, so you do not want to be tightening these up mega tight. Now ideally they should have had a locking nut on, or you'd put two nuts on and lock it tight but from the outside so it's not locked all the way in. So just do it with your fingers first. Then we can start tightening again with the spanner and the screwdriver. I'm just going to lock this into position. But you do not want to go mega tight with these because you want the wheels to actually rotate. So just tighten it up a little bit and then make sure that it's reasonably tight but that the wheels still turn. Not a great design this. So that is turning freely. So do exactly the same with the other side. And what we'll do now is put the end legs on, the ones without the wheels, and just make sure that the curve of the legs is as it is in this video here. This is exactly the same fittings as the ones that we've just done at the front with the wheels. So two bolts on each side from the outside to the inside, a washer and a nut, and then tightening those up pretty much as tight as you can get them. Now because this is exactly the same as the front legs, exactly the same process, I'll just speed this footage up and then exactly the same on the other side, and then that is all nice and tight. Right, next step. And the next step is building the tea tray or the pull-out tray for your tea or sandwiches or beer or wine or whatever is your tipple. Now you've got an H and a G. Make sure these are lined up exactly the way I've got them here. And then you've got the I, which is the actual tray. So you need to flip that over. You have the H on the left hand side and the G on the right hand side as we're facing it. And then it just slots into the grooves on the sides, which is that bit there. Now this is upside down at the moment for the way that it's going to go on the Wooden Sun Lounger, but this is just how we get it together. And we'll still leave the Sun Lounger base upside down as it was. Take the drinks tray, and it can go in any position that you want, but obviously you want it near where you're sitting. So I'm just going to line it up with the last slat. Now there's no pre-drilled holes for this. If you're worried about splitting the wood, you can put some pilot holes through. I actually didn't for this. This is hard wood. and the screws that go down don't penetrate the wood that deeply. So just line it up so it's nice and flush on either side. Then take these 4 screws which they supply, and if you can get someone to hold this completely still while you drill it downwards, that would be a good idea, just in case it starts moving. As you can see, it's only going to drill into the underside of the base just under 1 inch. I'm just going to put all the screws into each hole first, just to make sure that they're nice and straight and parallel, and they're going to go straight downwards. Then I'm going to use my electric cordless screwdriver and just screw those in clockwise into the underside base of the wooden sun lounger. So that is all lined up ready. Take my electric screwdriver. Again, you're screwing it in clockwise. Make sure you get a good firm grip. You do not want that to move around. It's just started biting there, so I'm just going to get the other ones in. Not going to screw it all the way down. I'll come back to them all once they've all got a bit of bite underneath the wooden sun lounger. That one's just started biting. That way we can make sure that it's all lined up and hasn't moved anywhere. It is best obviously to hold it still with one hand while screwing in with the other hand. But obviously I'm filming. My glamorous assistant has let me down. The final one here. Just feeling it start biting there. Great stuff. So all those 4 screws have started biting. Just make sure that the tray comes out. Remember, of course, this sun lounger is still upside down. Now we can just tighten these down all the way home. Third one, and then the final one here, and that is all 4 screws tightened down nice and tight. And now what we can do is flip it over the right way up. So let's just do that, because what we're going to be doing next is installing the backrest. And this is the backrest here. Again, make sure it's the right way up. It's just got the contoured edges on the top part there. And that is the backrest adjustment, which slots into the grooves. That's so you can have it in 2 different positions when you're sitting on it. And it bolts through to here. And a bit like the wheels, you don't want to over tighten this because this wants to be adjustable. So take your bolts, your nuts and your washers. And that's 2 of each. And you're lining it up with the hole for the backrest, pushing it through. And exactly the same on the other side. Again, much easier with 2 hands. And just like the legs, put a washer on and a nut. And always do it with your hands first. Get that as far onto the bolt as you can. Once those bolts are on, we can then tighten them up with the screwdriver and the spanner. Now, as I mentioned before, this is the actual backrest, which is adjustable. So you don't want to go crazy tight with this because you want to be able to move it. So take your spanner and your screwdriver, just start tightening it up, but just don't go crazy, and just do that on each side, and just make sure that you can still adjust the backrest freely. Now when you're putting on this backrest, it can go on either way, but it doesn't really matter the difference because you've got some screws on one side which show, but it doesn't really matter. I'll show you that when I install it. So that is how the backrest is going to work, where it sits in those slats there. So now, just going to connect it to the wooden sun lounger, to the base. And that is with these holes here at the bottom. So we're just lining it up there. And then take your bolts, push them through from the outside, and then exactly the same on the other side, and then as all the other fixings, get a washer on that and a nut. Now just for the ease of the video, to show it all the same way up, I'm just going to tighten it up as it's standing upright. It might be easier if you lay it on its side or turn it upside down again to tighten these up, just for easier access. I'm just going to get the spanner on there and my electric screwdriver, just start tightening that up. But you're not going crazy tight, just tight enough to make it firm, but that you can still maneuver it up and down. And then do exactly the same on the other side. So let's just see how that looks like from the back. Now, as I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, you've got those screws on the outside. It doesn't really matter what way round it goes. The aesthetics of the look doesn't really make much difference. And that backrest is fully adjustable now. And that is the tea tray there, and you can pull it out to a certain point and it hits a butt and it can't come out any further, so you can put anything on there that you like. And just checking that the wheels move freely, moving it backwards and forwards. And the wooden sun lounger does actually lay down completely flat if you want to actually lay down on it. And those are different adjustments there. That's all done. Time for a lovely cup of tea, definitely well deserved. All it needs now is a cushion. I'll put a link up in the top right hand corner about a cushion that you can get for this particular sun lounger. Nice bit of kit. Let's just hope the sun comes out now. I hope that was useful and you enjoy your sun lounger and a nice bit of sunshine. Alright sunshine.